Welcome to Nerds Amalgamated, a podcast that covers the latest events in science, pop culture, and gaming.
I'm the professor, aspiring game developer, sci-fi aficionado, and completely and undeniably a geek trying to take over the world. I'll be breaking down the news from tech to gaming.
I am the DJ, a humble nerd, a big weeb,
and a watcher from the halls of the multiverse.
Just kidding. Anyways, I'll be breaking down all things comics to movies to anime.
Join us and stay hydrated as we quench you with witty banter, unintentionally hilarious hot takes, and trivia more fun than a night at the pub, courtesy of Nerds Amalgamated.
And welcome to another episode of Nerds Amalgamated. I am the DJ, and with me we've got the professor, and we've got a very special guest here, one by the name of Lucas Scheffel. Is that how you spell it?
Yeah, you got it. You got it, man. You're the only one in the world, I think, that's actually done it in one.
Hey,
good job.
Holy shit. Okay. So he's a director, producer, cinematographer based in Melbourne. He's been doing a lot of global shooting documentaries, music videos, shorts, and film features. He's also a comic book creator, a writer. In his comic book endeavors, Scheffel brings a cinematic perspective drawn from filmmaking, creating visually dynamic stories aimed at broad audiences. And he's got projects such as Angry Squad and Gary Gorilla, and he's also created his own comic book line called Angry Fred Comics.
Yeah, you've done your homework.
Thank you. And his newest project, Ned Kelly First Blood, The Untold Story, is going to be coming out soon in a 64-page action comic book.
Mm-hmm.
So welcome to this lovely podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
So I just want to start off by saying, how did you get into the love of filmmaking?
Yeah, filmmaking, interesting. You've probably read a bio of mine that's from way back when. Like I'm not as heavily involved in film production as I used to be. I'm more comic focused at the moment, but I'm actually getting back into film production very soon. But I can't talk about that right now. That's for another day, another episode, I guess. But yeah, I got into filmmaking at a very young age of 12. I was the kid at high school who was running around back then with a mini VHS super high 8 video camera, filming my friends, that sort of thing. My late dad was very much into filmmaking in the 70s and 80s. He did a lot of Super 8 filmmaking, and he taught me how to do that. And so I've always had a passion and love for film. And when I finished university, I sort of went on this journey of becoming a camera trainee. I wanted to be a cinematographer. Worked on a bunch of Australian, feature films, short films, sort of camera assisting and that sort of thing. And then, yeah, I just kind of, there's a lot of gaps to fill there, but back in 2009, I created I went out randomly and created a zombie feature film called The Counterpart. You have to dig really deeply to find it. It's probably unfindable, but it was the worst film in the world, but it was my film school, right? I starred as 2 characters in it, and there was hit women and zombies, and I had my dad come into it and play a certain character that wore a red jacket, cool sunglasses, smoked a big cigar, and he was a gangster basically. And it was about this small town that was overrun by an infected drink of some sort, some alcoholic drink that was infected, and zombies started popping up everywhere, and this hit woman were on the trail of finding something. Anyway, it was a really convoluted story, but through that, I got to learn a lot of things, and it was through that sort of process and that love of filmmaking with my dad, I ended up going on this weird journey, and it sort of brought me to 2019, just before COVID hit. My dad was getting really sick. He ended up in a nursing home. He was quite older than most dads sort of when I was growing up. And
That's fair.
Yeah, he always inspired me, and I was I hadn't made anything. It was always a family affair to go out and make films. I was making short films with my family and friends, and my mum and dad were a very, very integral part of that. And in 2019, my mum got diagnosed with dementia, Alzheimer's, and my dad ended up in a home, and it sort of crushed me a little bit because they were my support network. and I had my first child, and I needed to get that creativity sort of out, and I ended up just deciding to go make comic books and graphic novels, and that's how Angry Squad was born. And
Oh, damn.
I took my dad's character in that zombie film with the red jacket, the gangster looking guy, and I created a character called Angry Fred. And my dad's name was Fred. He wasn't angry or anything, but I I basically took the premise of that and all the characters that were in that feature film, and I threw it into a thing called the Angry Squad. Wrote a script, kickstarted a comic book, which I had a bunch of artists to work with, and yeah, my first book was successful in 2019, 2020, and then from there I've done like 5 different books of various different sorts. So yeah,
Oh,
There's a lot more to a lot more to the whole filmmaking video side.
So you said a lot of stuff about being being a cinematographer, being in the film industry for a while, and you said it was during COVID. It was very difficult with your personal stuff and all the issues that were going on at the time. Was there like a specific moment where you just went, you know what, this film thing's not going. I'm just gonna switch to comics. Like, was there like one moment?
Um, yeah, I think it was just sort of like how my life was going, like family wise, and like seeing my family sort of go downhill, and I wanted to be there for them to help them. And I felt like that was sort of like the moment where I was like, I've got to switch gears here and just focus on family first. And and there was this thing of like this yearning of like prior to that, I'd worked in a lot of video production in Melbourne, working for the really big businesses, shooting corporate videos, small to medium businesses, and so forth. And that the grind of that was fun. It was fun building a business, but on the weekends we go out and shoot short films and music videos, and we had a lot of fun creatively. But there was just a part of me that wanted to created something really action packed and adventure driven, and like getting a budget and trying to get funding for that sort of stuff was very hard. Like some of the ideas I wanted to do was just crazy. And I had a friend who had been in a similar situation who was making a bunch of really high end, really violent sort of films that were in. Yeah, he had his own universe sort of thing, and he switched over to making comics way before I did. He always kept at me. He's just like, dude, take your stories and turn them into comic books. That it's cheaper to make, and you can hire artists and all this sort of stuff. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm not sure. But then I saw what I sat down one day and had a really close look at what he was doing, and I was like, no, I think this is this is a good medium for me to express. I could write my own things, do what I wanted to tell, and not be bound by any sort of someone going, oh, I'll give you money for this, but you have to tick a certain boxes to make it. So yeah, I guess there wasn't any pivotal moment, but there was a number of things that sort of led me there to that.
Yeah, because when you were because I'm just looking at some of the stuff you said, some of the stuff you've done. Like you've you've uh, you've got a Nobel Award, including a Bronze Award from the Australian Cinematographer Society in 2009. You've got a Best Short Film for Captured at the Australian Screen Industry Film Awards in 2012. You
Mm.
received Best Foreign Director for Dead Therapy
That
in
was it.
2014.
Mhm.
And you also in 2016 signed a 3-year deal for Debt Therapy through Granella Productions as well.
Yes, yeah, that's correct. Yeah, there's a lot of there was a lot of yeah. So funny you say that. There are a lot of good milestone moments happening there with like getting awards and being recognized in film festivals and so forth. And it's just the grind of that though. Like behind the scenes, you're continually just trying to keep that momentum going, and it's fun. It was so fun, but yeah, there was just a part of me that those stories that I was making, I never really felt I felt attached to them, and I loved doing them. But there was a part of me was like, I've got to go out and maybe experience life as well to
Yeah.
try and come back and tell stories that mean a lot to me as well. But yeah, that was a lifetime ago. You'd sort of bring back memories for me there. But
How
yeah,
did you get into the how did you originally get into the movie directing side of it? Like it must have been like I just wanted to make videos and just have fun and stuff.
yeah. I don't know. It's always been a passion. Like I was always the guy at in high school. I really loved drama class and so forth, and I was really passionate about watching films and trying to dissect them and study them. And it sort of just was a natural progression. Like I sort of did that through high school. I went to university. I was involved in a lot of filmmaking then, and after I left, I got involved in independent industry in Australia, and went to Melbourne, set up a video production company, and then you network with people, and it was just a burning desire. It's like I didn't. I'm not one of those who sort of sits around and waits for someone to give me the green light, or ask for permission to go do something. I sort of just go. If I've got an idea, I'll go do it. Like I'm one of these people that I kind of have to follow through. I don't know if it's in my blood. I have some sort of weird work ethic or integrity that I'm like, okay, I've got this random idea. I'm gonna go make it happen, regardless. If I need to work hard to save money to do it, or I'll figure a way to do it myself. I don't know, but that's
It's like
just yeah.
it's like Field of Dreams. If you make it, they will come.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. If you want to, like, it doesn't like to me. If you can be successful for yourself and do it for yourself, regardless if it has international recognition or your peers are recognizing, I feel like if you can do that for yourself, that's a good thing. And if like you're a big believer in, if creatively, if you can make something that's purely for yourself, there's always going to be an audience out there who's gonna like it. And I feel like in this day and age, there's a lot of films that get made now that it's more concerned about the bottom line, and big corporate companies trying to make a dollar, and they're worried about the audience. But I feel like they need to go back and
Oh,
find
it's
people that yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
It's I think the problem with movies nowadays, it's that there's no creative risk anymore. Like
no, there's
everyone's
not.
just yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, there's no creative risk at all. It's like I feel like I was reading up stories about how films got made back in, say, the 70s or something in Hollywood. And
Hmm.
there was old guys there going, giving young guys a chance. It's like they walk through the door and say, "Oh, we want to make a movie with guys on Harley Davidsons taking mushrooms and driving through the desert, like Easy Rider or something like that." And they're like, "Yeah, sure, here's the money. We'll go make it and come back to us," and they make things that have a cult following afterwards, and everyone remembers. So but now it's
Oh
all
yeah.
about taking calculated risks. Yeah, this will get us bums on seats, and it'll get enough money through the door. And like that, fair enough, we've got to keep a business going. I get it. There's a business model there, but
Hmm.
it's very different to.
And it's
Yeah,
also now with like and now you got all these bureaucracies to deal with as well. Like
yeah,
you got
yeah,
okay, you gotta add this person in, you gotta add that person. Oh,
yeah,
because
yeah.
this guy's related to that guy, so you gotta put that guy
Yes,
in. And it's
yes,
just
yeah,
there's a I I think there's the element of wonder when it comes to being a director, like, oh yes, I can be this beautiful thing, but they don't realize like, oh crap, there's more to it than
mm,
just
mm.
that than just being the guy at the award ceremony.
Yeah. There's way it goes deeper to it. I feel like you got to wear a lot of hats, and you got to. I feel like with directing as well, one thing that I always struggled with is like actors. Actors are so difficult to work with, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but you and even people that you work with on a crew, it's like you're constantly being asked questions, and you always have to have some sort of answer for it. And like when it's in the heat of the moment, sometimes things can get lost in communication. But I feel like you have to be almost like a psychologist and therapist sometimes, and like
Oh,
guide people through certain things. And like if an actor's, you can work with one actor who's really deep and wants to know the ins and outs of a duck's ass about how to pick up how the character picks up a sauce bottle, or how they drink a glass of water. But then you got other actors that are like, oh, that's right, leave me alone, I'll be right. There's so much level and dynamic to it it's funny. Yeah, I don't think people realize what goes into it. And then it's about who you know as well. It's not about how much you know too. If you've got friends in the industry, if there's clicky groups, and a producer, or an actor friend, you can maybe get things up and running really quickly. Whereas other people that, like, I've got a friend who's amazing scriptwriter. He's amazing at directing and stuff, but he just struggles to network and get people, get something up and running. And it's like he could be very good at what he does, but if you don't have those sort of pathways into the industry or those doors open, it's very difficult. Like networking is a big thing, like a huge
yeah.
thing. Like huge
It,
thing.
it's it, it- it's like it's what is it? It's like it's not what you do, it's who you know,
Yeah, it
basically.
is. It is. Yeah, it's a funny thing, that, isn't it? It's
Mm.
yeah, it's. But anyway, yeah.
So, we were talking about movie production. What is when it comes to acting, actors and stuff? Like, what is the weirdest thing that's happened to you during production?
Doing production.
You've got like a plethora, I bet.
I'm trying to think. That's a really great question. I don't want to say anything to to sort of like single anyone out. Like, I don't know. I'm always drawn back to an experience I had on a short film where this is like I can't talk about this because then they'll know who it is. But I don't know.
Okay, just say what actor A,
Ah,
actor A.
I think for me it was there was an experience. This like okay, this is probably a better example. So you spend like maybe a few months or weeks, rehearsing with actors before you get on set and shoot stuff, right?
Yeah,
And everyone's on the right page. We're on, trying to get the right vision going. And then when you come onto set, you sometimes get background actors to come in, like extras and so forth. And I remember dealing with one extra one day who all they had to do was walk in the background and just, maybe pick up a glass, interact with someone else, whisper, like, mime and stuff. But while you're trying to direct the main people who are in front of the camera, like someone in the background would always come up to me and say, "Oh, what am I meant to be doing here at this moment? Like, am I meant to pick up the glass this way? Am I meant to, myself this?" And it was like
specific
it was very
details.
specific details, and it was kind of irrelevant. But you try to have to be polite, and then it's one of those things where you just at the end of it, I had to give the person some sort of direction just to say, okay, when we yell action and this is happening in the scene, you can walk from point A to point B, pick up a glass, do this, do that, and they wanted motivation for being an extra in the background. I get it, like maybe you do need motivation, but I felt like they were trying to make it about themselves, and I'm not trying to discredit extras and background people. Like they're more, they're an important part of the film set, obviously, but yeah, it's you come across little moments like that where people really want to be in front of the camera, and that's fine. They want their moment. But that
Oh
was
yeah.
that was a fun sort of fun little thing that sort of happened. But outside
Yeah.
of that, I don't know, man. I'm trying to think deeply on. There's always some sort of drama. There's always some sort of drama on set. Like I swear to God, if someone had a camera, rolling on some of the things I've worked on, it'd be more interesting what happens behind the scenes than what happens on the screen.
Yeah.
It's just it's such a cesspool and dynamic environment where egos come to light. demands want to be met, and it's like yeah, that sort of
But it's when it comes to the filming side of things, like how do you like when it comes to the process, like how do you deal with like the color palettes of the scenes or the location scouting, like the role the equipment plays in challenging scenarios and character development and how the storytelling abilities drove that development. Like how do you deal with all these like bits and pieces of it,
yeah,
like puzzle pieces to fit
puzzle
that
pieces. Yeah.
puzzle.
Yeah, I think a lot of that happens in the pre-production stage and the development stage. If you got the right people, like if say for instance, I'm directing and I've got a very I think having a good relationship with your cinematographer or your director of photography or whoever's filming it, like camera person, is like straight up is a really good thing to have. And you could sit down and have countless meetings with that person to watch certain films for the mood that we want the film to have, or creating mood boards where it's almost like a vision board where you're printing out different images or photographs from different films or artwork that helps define the color palette, and that goes beyond just how it looks. I think worrying about production design is a really good thing, like trying to find locations that are another element of the process. Like there are almost a character, like what props we want to bring in, how we want the set to look, those sort of things. So I think a lot of that happens in sort of the pre-production stage where you're talking to the people, the crew that you're working with, make that happen, to have a clear vision. Because I feel like when you go on set and you film stuff, I don't know if I really enjoyed that part of the process. I feel like I really enjoyed the part where it's sort of the pre-production stage where you're building the world and you're getting the right people involved and you're building all the assets to how you want it to look. And then when it comes to editing, you can craft it. And I feel like when it comes to the stage of filming, when it comes to production, you're always up against something, and you've got to think creatively. And you could have everything planned, but some things don't go to plan. It might rain, or you might not be able to get into the location, or power goes out, or you're losing light because you've been shooting the same scene for like 8 hours straight. For some reason. But yeah, I've had instances where there was one film I was working on. It was actually Dead Therapy. It happens in one location in an underground basement type setting, and the only location I could find was underneath the school, and it was an old rundown basement underneath this really old school outside of Melbourne. And it was actually a location they used the first Mad Max in. I think the house above it, which became the school office, was in the first Mad Max film. And I went out to this place, and because I knew a contact who had actually worked on the first Mad Max film, and he took me out there because they do tours. Japanese tourists come over from Japan, and they go on these tours where all the Mad Max locations were shot in Melbourne for the first film. And this was one of the locations. And he said, underneath this house or this office building of the school, they've got this really cool basement. And I managed to score a deal and get in there and film in this basement. But they would only allow me to film during school hours. So it was tricky. We had people upstairs who were working in the office. And I don't know what happened along the way. I think we were really quiet. We came in before school started. We came in underground. We weren't seen for the whole day. We were dealing with like bells going off at recess, lunch, and afternoon recess. Like the sound guys looking at me and going, man, what do we do? It's like, we just keep filming. We'll just see if we can get around it. Because we're recording voices and everything. They're meant to be really quiet. And we had kids running by windows, near where we were filming, and you could hear the laughter and stuff like that.
Oh, that was the
So we had to when we edited that, we had to dip down certain audio and get rid of those sort of things. But for some reason, we must have rubbed the staff up the wrong way who were working upstairs. And there was one lady who was deliberately, I don't know why, I don't know what happened, but I don't know if she wanted to be a part of the film or something, but she was like, stamping on deliberately stomping on the wooden floorboards above and like pulling drawers out and shutting them really loud. Oh, okay. We tried to go up there and negotiate and sort of keep it cool, but it was really difficult. But the film turned out really great in the end, but it was just, that part of it was just like, oh, you're dealing with all these other elements that nobody really realizes until you get onto something like that. So it's a lot of moving parts that, you got to be really organized and know where everything's at and be prepared to answer questions, but be prepared to really problem solve in the moment. Like just, you're constantly solving problems every 5 seconds. Yeah, that was a doozy of a show.
So with because it was an Australian production. Like, how did you go through the whole the funding for it, like to get the initial concept to green light, especially with the funding landscape for like Screen Australia and state bodies and stuff to get you. How did you manage to get through that? Like,
yeah, for that one, funny story. That one, the script for this one was written by a guy that I know who's based out of Austin in Texas. He wrote this script, and I came across it randomly one day on the internet. He had it online just for anyone to read, and if anyone wanted to make it, to just reach out to me. So I read the script and I was like, oh, I like this. It's one location, only 2 actors. It's got a zombie in it. It's got a gun in it. It's a little bit action packed, emotionally driven. It was really written really well, had nice beats to it in the story. I was like, I want to make this. How can we make this happen? And I sort of sat down with my partner. She stars in the film and she also helped produce it. And we sort of put our heads together and said, look, let's try and crowdfund some of it. And we crowdfunded part of it, and it raised us a few grand. But what we ended up doing, we have always had the premise, if you can't get funding and it's too hard to go out, and you just try and make it happen yourself. And we had enough money sort of saved by that, we ended up putting our own money into it. And we pulled a few favors in from people at the time. I think we needed to shoot with a specific Red camera back then, and we asked someone who owned one, who they could give us a discount and sort of thing. So there's a lot of that going on, mates rates and so forth. But we funded that ourselves in that regard. So a lot of that was off our own back, which looking back, I probably wouldn't suggest doing, because it sort of puts you in the red. You're constantly trying to chase your tail. Like I've got a lot of friends that would max out credit cards or mortgage their house, remortgage their house, to use that as an asset to show the bank, these are the figures, maybe we can make this money back, that sort of thing. Coming full circle now, though, I'm quite more adept in dealing with funding bodies. I've dealt making graphic novels and comic books. I've managed to secure a couple of grants recently for making my comic books. So that's I'm more adept on how that works now. I wish it was back
Yeah.
then, but yeah,
What what
that's
what
yeah,
what's crazier now though is when you look at comics and in the movie side, like how to just reduce in terms of funding, it's like okay, we need to maximize your funding. Everyone's now just relying on AI and how
yeah.
it's hard. I mean,
Mm,
before AI, it was pretty hard to like go like okay, I'm gonna balance my creative vision with the financial constraints. How
yes,
do I do that? And now because like everyone's now relying
sky's
on
the
AI,
limit.
it's like
I've got a friend who's recently over the last 6 months got into AI filmmaking, and he created a short film, and it got noticed by the company Higgsfield AI. They're a really well known
yeah,
AI
yeah,
AI. I think that the guys they recently went to Cannes and they pitched a Cannes Film Festival, and they pitched a feature film that was totally made in AI. And my
y-
friend got a brand deal from that because he went in really deep and he figured out the process of regenerating video and images to create a short film. It was quite action driven and adventure driven. It looked quite good. He sat me down and showed me what he had the process of what he does, and it's like there is no it's funny when I was watching him, there's no creative limit. It's like almost infinite of what you can generate depending
mm,
on money, because now these AI kind of charge you,
oh yeah,
for credits and generations and stuff. But he was showing me some things where he'd set up a scene and he'd run it through like seed dance or something. So he'd create a scene, and if he wasn't happy with some sort of something in the background, he'd take a still frame and put it into Photoshop, use generative AI to change that and try and figure out something different. And then he'd spit it out and go into something like nano banana and create a whole different scene that would match up. And he'd be using I swear to God, he was using like 10 different AI programs just to generate something he wanted. And then he put it into Premiere Pro to edit it. And I was like, man, he's like, yeah, the caveat with that, he says, is there's no creative stop. He says it is infinite. It is absolutely infinite of how much I can create. There's no creative limit. He's like, I've got to pull myself back sometimes because I can sit here for 4 hours just doing one shot, trying to get what I think is right. I was like, wow, that's crazy. But to your point, it's really easy to create. When you're trying to pitch an idea, it's very easy to go say on like Midjourney or ChatGPT now and just type a prompt in and go, this is the sort of look I'm after, or say a film or something creative, and show someone, and then you can get your vision across really easily.
yeah. But then
Yeah.
how much of your final project is shaped by your editor versus your original vision on set? That must have been a
Yeah, I'm pretty much a control freak when it comes to that. So I've edited everything. Bar one project I think I worked on. Like I'm always sort of there with my producing partner, my wife. We're always quite collaborative on that. So yeah, we kind of have control. But there's always things we don't agree upon. Like my wife, she very much sees what needs to be done, but I'm like trying to push the envelope and do something different. Like, how about we hold on this shot longer and longer and longer? And she's like, we need to get to the point. Like, but there are creative choices. It depends what sort of mood and emotion you want to evoke in a
so
scene. So
how
yeah,
do you,
yeah.
so what actually happens in the room when the scene is not working? Like how do you diagnose it and fix it on the fly?
Sometimes you might have an idea on set, and you might have it on, like, say for instance in Dead Therapy, I think there was a scene in there where I wanted the opening scene to be one shot where it started on one person on one side of the room, and the camera would slowly just move across, and there'd be a voiceover, and it would go to the other person to reveal the voiceover of the person on the other side of the room. And that was in my head what I wanted. And I think when we got into the editing, it kind of didn't work. It was just too slow. And I wouldn't say boring, but it just didn't have the momentum I was looking for.
Mm.
And in that sort of instances, you have coverage of other angles, of the actors and so forth, and cutaways. And I think with that, it's one of those things where you can create certain scenes in films. And I think there's a term called killing your darlings. It's an old Hollywood term where you might be really happy with a scene, how it looks on screen, There has to be a point. If it's not working for the story, ultimately it comes back down to the story. You just have to get rid of it and do what's best, for the story, for the characters in that moment, and for the emotion that you're trying to evoke. And that can sometimes be hard because you can be if you're very precious about that, and you let your ego get in the way, you can end up having really bad arguments with people. And then, it might not speak to them, and then you might have to go, well, let's just walk away and we'll come back tomorrow and we'll assess from there. But yeah,
it's crazy when being a director and being in the industry, being this film industry. But what's even crazier, if we a step sideways from the screen, you're also making comics,
yes.
as I previously mentioned. How did you? And you said it started around the COVID times, so
Yeah, it wasn't initially like everyone. Like I tour around with my comic books at comic book conventions, and everyone's like, "Oh, did you make this during COVID? Was this a COVID side hustle project? How everyone was locked in their house and everyone decided to make a business?" And it's like, I actually, unfortunately, not unfortunately, but I did. I just sort of came just before everyone did that, and it was literally just before the first sort of. I think it was the October of 2019, just before that September when everything was for COVID. Just before that happened, I wasn't even thinking about that. Like I literally needed a creative outlet because I hadn't shot anything for a while, and I needed something to push my creativity into. And that's how the Angry Squad was born. Like I said, I was like, I want to take those characters I created with my mum and my dad and put them onto paper and leave some sort of keep my family's creative legacy going, I guess you could say.
yeah.
Um,
How, so
yeah.
so how does the creative process look like from the seed of an idea to the finished project? Like, do you script everything tightly or leave the room to discover it visually?
It's funny you say that. When I come to writing comic books, I'm really like anal and detailed and over the top. Like if you were to see my scripts, like when you write a comic book script, you literally, for me anyway, I take, okay, this is page 1 and panel 1. This is going to happen. Da 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 da. Here's the dialogue. Here's the special effects that are going to appear, like the kabooms or the pows on screen. Here's panel 2, and I'll be very descriptive of what I want on the page to the point where I'm leaving links in the script to images of what I want the character to look like, or what I want the mustache of the person to look like, or what I want in the background, or what I want the color of the costume to be, to the point where when I start working with artists like Lucas, I think this sentence here is really what the panel is about. Let's just focus on that for now, and then we can build upon that. So I'm really descriptive, probably a bit too much, but it builds the world out, and it helps whoever I'm working with understand what I'm after. So, but to your point, that there it starts with me with a script, and then I have all these crazy ideas, and I'll even sketch stuff out that I like different angles, different poses, and I'll attach that to the script. And then from there, what happens is the artist will take that away, and then they'll go through each panel, each page, and they'll create thumbnails of each of the, like, really loosely based thumbnails of each of the panels and the page work. And then I'll go back through and I'll match that up with my script, and I'll see if I want something changed, like an angle, or if something's not working emotionally, or I'm a big stickler for trying to, on every page, leaving a cliffhanger moment at the bottom panel, so the person has to turn the page. Whether it's some sort of dialogue that isn't finished, or whether it's like a moment where a character's like about to reveal something, or some sort of action happens and we don't know if the character's going to live, or they're going to die or something like that. I need that. I'm very particular now that at the end of every page and every panel that I want people to turn like the page and keep turning. So there's those little technical things, and there's like how the reader's eye moves across the page as well is a big thing with the lettering and all that. So yeah, there's a lot of technicalities to that. Yeah.
So you were saying about with the working with the artist and giving all these details out. How much room do you leave open for the artist to go? Okay, do whatever you want with this scene. Like, what are you?
It's a bit of, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm a bit of a creative control freak when it comes to that. I do give them like creative control when it comes to sort of we do a thing at the start where we create character turnaround. So costume, like we'll have we'll have sheets of the character, standing in front of us side by side, or their back turned to us. And when it comes to costumes and stuff like that, I give them full creative control over that. But when it comes to the direction of how I want the scenes to flow, I'm pretty much in the trenches with them trying to work that out. But yeah, when it comes to sort of how the characters are built and how the color of the scenes work, I kind of leave that up to the artist. But when it's sort of the environments and how it looks, I'd like to try and control that a lot. But there might be instances where my idea won't work, and they'll come to me and they go, "Look, this doesn't work for what you want. There's either too much going on, or it just doesn't make any sense. How about we do this?" And I'm like, "I'm open to that. I'm cool with that." So yeah, it's a bit of a game and a balance. So
Oh, I bet you must get like there are moments of like, okay, I want this to be a sad moment, and the artist like makes it up, and you're like, nah, nah, I don't like this depressing look. Can you make it less depressing for me?
yeah, I know, right? Yeah. There has been moments like that where sometimes some artists I work with, they come listen looking this way. Like that's not what I wrote in the script. But make them look happier, but then they make them look, I don't know, angrier, and it's like, oh, what's going on? Yeah,
Uh,
it's an interesting dance. So
uh, so because they're Australian comics, and we've seen like they've always lived in the shadow of the American giants and
yeah,
the Japanese giants.
yes,
How conscious are you when it comes to what you're creating?
yeah, that's a good question. I like for me, I grew up with a lot of DC comics. So I grew up reading Superman, Batman, and then later on, I got really influenced by the Punisher, Judge Dredd, a bit of Spider Man. I've been all Marvel sort of stuff. So there's always that, and I feel like I've come to a point now, whereas like I think Australian comics and the style of Australia needs to sort of be opened up, and like Australia is very unique, and that's I guess that brings me to my Ned Kelly comic book series that I've created recently. I'm really conscious that I think we need to celebrate Australia a bit more and celebrate sort of the characters that we create here, because there's a lot of cool comic books that have been created in Australia that not many people know about. Like Tim McEwan, based out of Sydney, has a long-running series from the '90s called Greener Pastures about a cow, about a cow that decides he's had enough of being in the pastures and decides he wants to go become a lawyer. Like that's a cool comic book, but I don't know if you've heard about that, but that needs to be celebrated more. And there's other like cool little character comic books out there that it needs to be celebrated. So yeah, like it's a good point. I feel like there are a lot of Australian comic book creators out there that are exploring their own unique stories that are very Australian. But there's a lot of us that I'm going to say that we are very influenced by the big two from America and like the Japanese style for sure. But I guess that's
Yeah.
how a lot of us grow up. I guess with
Yeah. The Australian comics I've been following lately, it's you would remember Comics to Movies, with Sean
yeah. I've
and
hosted a couple of their shows. Yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
they're a fun bunch,
They're
and
good
I've got
guys. Yeah.
like Steven and Sean, like
Yes.
they're both spearheading that Australia get the Australian comics in there.
Yeah.
Which I also have to wonder, like, because you were mentioning how you were influenced by all the DC stuff and all the Marvel stuff. How connected you reckon is the Australian comics to the film and TV industry? Like, are the same storytellers moving
Yeah,
between both
medium.
worlds, or
I don't,
is it?
I don't think so, man. I'm not sure. Maybe on an independent level there are. I know there's a lot of guys on an independent level who are, making films, and just, the stories they're trying to tell, kind of harder to get funding for, very unique. Yeah, yeah, because
I mean,
Australia's interesting. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, in America, like you're looking at like you see a lot of actors they're making comics like Keanu Reeves
I know.
famously
Yeah,
does
Berserk.
Berserker comics.
Yes, I love that.
Uh,
Yeah.
you've got Amelia Clark, and she's got
Mm,
her own comic book, and then you've got
yeah.
as well. Is it Whoopi Goldberg? No, so there's another
What?
the,
Sister Act, is it? Sister Act.
Sister Act, the comic.
The comic.
There's another one that she's also released her own line as well, and you wonder like,
Yeah,
man, imagine you get the Australians coming into the fold, like
yeah,
although
interesting. Yeah.
it'd be kind of weird though, like this. the crafting skills will be interchangeable? Like, could you see a great screenwriter or a great director automatically write a great comic strip, or is it like one?
I I don't know, man. That's a really good question. I haven't actually come across anyone sort of like that. I think in the Australian industry that's made the transition to over back and forth, like the likes of Keanu or like you say. I don't know. Like, and I like what Stephen and Sean are doing with comics to movies because it's this really interesting dance where I think their Fractured Shards series
Oh
uses
yeah,
is it Dan from it was in was he in
Spartacus.
Spartacus and he's in
Spartacus.
the Bold and the Beautiful, whatever it is, one of those soap operas. That's cool. And he's Australian, but he's over there in the US doing his thing. Like I like that, but I feel like Sean and Stephen are the ones that are probably at the forefront of that. I know what's the guy that made here in Australia who made what's that Vietnam dinosaur film? What is it
Oh,
called?
Ando.
Uh no, not Ando. No, it's a Vietnam War film. It was shot here in Brisbane or down the Gold Coast. They're in the Vietnam War and there's dinosaurs. What's the guy's name? He's made like an alien film before that, and he made was it Red Billabong or something? I think he was trying to make
Is it Danger Close? Is that the one? The
no,
Battle
no,
of
that's Criv.
the which year was it, by the way? If
It's just recent. I can't. And if I
it's
type it in Google, it's not going to even like go.
there's
What are you talking about?
it's
Primitive
Primitive
War.
War.
Primitive War. Yeah, Primitive War. So
Yeah, there we are.
the guys behind that, I feel like they were trying to make companion comics on their first film. I think it was called Red Billabong. I feel like they had something going on with Sean from Comics to Movies as well with one of their sort of sci-fi alien films. I feel like that's happening, but I don't. I feel like the guys at Wolf Creek did something too.
Yeah.
Greg McLean at one point, but yeah, it seems to be with the genre focused stuff, doesn't it? Like, yeah, I don't know. I'm not. Geez, it would be cool if there was like more of that sort of stuff going on. Sure, yeah.
If the Australian comic scene were to disappear tomorrow, though, like what would actually be lost? Like given our
What there's a lot of really great creatives out there that I think a lot of them don't, get enough accolades and enough screen. Like, Sorab Del Rio with Baz the Barbarian Bogan, whatever it is. That series is really cool. Baz the Bogan, where it's, he's taken the quintessential Aussie guy with the Rabbitohs shirt, the cricket bat, and he's fighting
oh
killer
yeah yeah
drop
yeah I
bears.
remember
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
yeah.
He he's doing really cool stuff. Like just cool, entertaining stories would be lost. But there's a lot of great artists out there, like Darren Close, who's done the Killaroo series. He needs to be given more credit than anyone out there because he's been around for like 30 odd years doing. I'd love to see him get a movie made.
Yeah.
His comic
It,
book.
it's hard to do it though because you have to build and maintain an audience, like,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
like how like the question would be like how would you build and maintain an audience online? Like what platforms actually work for an Australian comic creator? Like because everyone goes to
Yeah.
Instagram and then
They
you got
do.
it's either TikTok or the YouTube scene as
Mm,
well, and
mm.
it's hard to build like even now, like because you got AI people as well now, like you got AI recaps and then AI people
Yeah.
making stuff, and it's hard to make. It'd be really hard though.
It is. It's like I feel like if I was to give advice to anyone who's trying to break into the industry, is to focus on one platform only and build your audience on that. Because I see a lot of guys now. Everyone's on Substack writing newsletters. Everyone's got like a Facebook presence, a YouTube presence, or Instagram presence, and you can spread yourself very thin across that. But my number one thing is if you're going to build an audience, go back to the old school way of like your email list. Like
Oh yeah,
I have an email list where a lot of people engage with me through emails that I send out, and my click-through rate, my conversion rate is quite high. And I think just nurturing that, but to be honest, like good old-fashioned email one person and have a chat with them and then weave your comic book into it works wonders. Like I set aside, a few hours a week to just check in with my followers who I know are really interested in what I do and engage conversation with them, see how they're going and what they're working on, and just a bit of back and forth. That there works wonders. Like if you can focus in on that and not get too mesmerized by the trends on social media and TikTok challenges and all this sort of stuff. Try and be true to yourself, and just be humble and try to tell stories that way. I think is a
Yeah.
good thing, because you can get trapped. Like I used to run a Patreon page, and I think I've only got one person who follows me on there at the moment, and I barely post anything. But this poor guy's like, no, I'm gonna continue to just keep putting in money once a month for you because I believe in you, and I'm really grateful for that. But it's like like
And also,
yeah,
you have to also attend the comic conventions like
yeah,
Supernova and Oz Comic Con, and they're the
yeah.
functions where you like the creators meet the fans, and
Yes,
the fans meet the creators. Like, is that also a useful thing, or for the
they're fun. They're fun. That's a whole different level of understanding who your followers are. Like I've done a few of them, and they're fun. Like it's fun to get in front of people and physically show them your books and meet them and talk to them, because it just adds a whole different energetic element to it. And I know it's funny you say that, because I know the type of people that will buy my comic books. I sort of say to my wife when we're at these things, I'm like, I can bet you today there's going to be 2 people that are going to rock up to my store, my table. They're not going to say anything, and they're going to buy all my comics, and they're going to hand me the cash, and they're going to walk away, and they won't say anything at all. And it happens all the time.
Oh
It's
damn!
like the same sort of looking people, and the same, a little bit introverted, but that they want to. They've been following me and they want to get a kick out of me, but they're too kind of shy to even talk to me in person, which is really funny. But yeah, that happens. But yeah, it's great getting into conventions, because you get to meet other creators and you get to swap war stories, so to speak, and what works, what doesn't. It's a really good it's a really fun environment to be in. Really fun.
You've also the other interesting thing when you were talking mentioning with the email lists and meeting with people, you've also got another avenue where you talk to people and knowing and finding your audiences through the Angry Fred Comics webpage as
Yes,
well, and the
yes.
Angry Fred. So how did that come about with the Angry Fred? Because you said you got that from your late father.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. He sort of inspired that whole notion of this character who was larger than life. And yeah, I just created a whole, I guess, lore and universe around him. And it's sort of taken on his own sort of journey. And like I used to put up Instagram jokes on Instagram, where it's like these 3 slide carousels that you slide through, and it'd just be a cartoon version of Angry Fred talking to a gorilla that I've got called Gary Gorilla. And I just took jokes from the internet and just changed them a little bit. And it's like, why did the chicken cross the road? And Angry Fred would have some really bad, like, response, and people would love that. So I've taken that, and it's sort of, for me, it's like the really bad dad joke, and it sort of leans into what my dad was like. So sort of taking that humor and just sharing it with the people and so forth. It's been quite a journey with that. Like people love it. They love it. They seeing this eccentric gangster looking angry guy in his red jacket smoking a cigar. It's taken on a whole journey with him. So, but I've created an audience around that, and I try to nurture that audience as well. So I'm almost finished writing my 3rd book in that series. So I'm looking forward to launching one too. Sure.
oh, okay. You got any questions for him, Professor?
No, I don't have anything to add at the moment.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Should we go to the lightning round questions in that case?
I think so.
Okay. We got we got a couple of lightning round questions for you. We're
Okay.
gonna. Okay. So, film or comics? Which one feeds your soul more?
Well, I'm going to say film, although I
Okay.
haven't done it for a while. Yeah.
What's the last Australian story that genuinely moved you?
Last Australian story, like any sort of like film, TV, like,
Take
oh
your
my
pick, man.
god,
Take any pick, anything.
holy crap. Okay, so recently I got to read a transcript. This is going to sound really geeky and historical. I got to read it's going to sound really boring, but I got to read a transcript of a book called, it hasn't even been released yet. It's being released at the end of June. It's called Under Siege, Francis Hare story, and it's about the policeman who was integral and played a big part in bringing down Ned Kelly back in the late 1880s. And it's a really historical account. It has been written by the great grandniece of Francis Hare, and it's told from the point of view of this policeman who had interactions in Melbourne. Talked about how Melbourne was, the landscape, the people, how the politics were, and all that sort of thing. And it's about to be released down in Victoria, in Glenrowan, where Ned Kelly had his last stand, where he was caught. to be released then. And I was lucky enough to read a transcript of it, written by a lady by SP. What was it? Sue Brown. Sue Brown. Yeah. It really moved me. I got to I got to have a more of appreciation of what colonial Australia looked like back then, and it made me understand how Australia is. Looking back, going, oh, that sort of connects the puzzle for me a little bit.
For,
I'd say that it
for
was a book.
for a second there, when you said the whole like under siege thing and the policeman, I'm thinking, okay, is that Steven Seagal in colonial Australia?
His ponytail doing karate kick. Yeah. Under siege, man. He cool. It was cool. I've got some fun. Oh man, I worked with a lighting guy who worked a bunch of Steven Seagal movies, and he had some
No.
wild stories of like him and Sylvester Stallone. I can't repeat any of them on this show, but like if you ever want to talk about it, it's
Oh.
just some of the stuff that they talked about. I was like, oh wow, okay. I can't even say. It's really
But
yeah.
yeah, I
No, I
was
can't.
just thinking, like, it just like Ned Kelly, Steven Seagal just high kicking people in the
That'd be a
Ned
cool
Kelly.
crossover. You could create a mashup of that, you know? Like,
It's like Steven Seagal.
have you seen the videos of Steven Seagal now when he walks around so big and
Oh,
it's so yeah.
I was watching there's a YouTube channel named Critical Drinker, and he does a series called Crash and Burn, the Steven Seagal story, and
Uh,
man, the burn
wow.
is just bad.
Burn is bad, like, but some of the stories I heard about him on set, like it was like a train wreck ready to
Oh.
go. You're like, oh man. Anyway, I can't repeat them, but anyway.
Favorite panel or frame you've ever created? What made it perfect?
Whoa, in a comic book. So recently, last year I published a book called Ned Kelly and the Five Revolvers. It's an 8-page graphic novel. It's the first in the series of my Ned Kelly trilogy. There's a panel in that. It's actually a page where Ned Kelly is riding on his horse, about to go save a town, and he's got his helmet on. He's got his gun, and he's going through this cool landscape. And obviously, I didn't draw it, but I helped bring the vision to life with my
Yeah.
writing and stuff. And my artist Vika Zuban, she nailed that, and it's a really beautiful looking image. It's a full page spread. My colorist Richard Rupick, he colored it really wildly. It's just at sunset, and it's got a really nice color palette. It's just beautiful. Yeah, I love that part. So.
Who in the Australian industry do you think is criminally underrated?
Probably underrated in this. Wowzers, where do you get these questions? Moly, criminally underrated. That is a really tough question.
Off the top. Okay, how about gun? How about a gun to Ned Kelly revolver to your head?
I don't. Oh, that's a tough one. I'm gonna say Travis. I don't know because I've been watching him recently in this TV show. Travis Fimmel, the guy that was in the Vikings TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got this really piercing blue eyes. He's in a TV show called Black Snow. It's an Australian-based thing. Some of it was actually shot in Brisbane. I think the last season.
Damn.
I feel like he as an actor, like he's been in the June TV series over in the States, and I feel like I think he's underrated as an actor. He's very deep, very witty, got a lot of levels to him, and I feel like he's not used enough. I'll say him because he's the only person that comes to mind at the moment. Yeah, I'll say him. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Yeah. What's one tool, app, or piece of gear you couldn't work without?
Oh, I think it's at the moment it's just my MacBook Pro. I've got a 15-inch laptop. I can't live without that because it's my bread and butter. So yeah, I can't live without that.
Okay, Professor. Now next time he comes to Queensland, we'll take it out for him and we'll see how he survives. It's like,
man.
How will he survive? Like, man, it'd be like Lucas versus Wild.
I'll be like some random, I'll grow a beard and I'll be some guy in the bush, like, bring myself
like
apart.
Bear Grylls it out of the way.
I'll be building stuff out of sticks and stone.
Okay, be honest. Is the Australian film funding system help bold storytellers or just protecting safe ones?
I don't know, man. I don't want to go. I don't want to go there. It's funny. No, it's funny. I've been seeing some things that have been popping up recently that are about to be released. There's two things that are about to be released. I'm sorry that I can't. I'm going to butcher the names of what they're called, but there's one film that is popping out at the moment by the Spearig brothers. Do you remember the Spearig brothers? They did Undead back in the day. They're Queensland boys. They're about to release a film that is based on the Headless Horseman lore, and it looks like a gritty action film, urban street film where there's a bunch of cool cars and shotguns. I feel like that has been funded by the Australian film industry, and I feel like that's cool. And there's another guy I know went to uni with called Dario Russo. He did the Danger 5 series and Italian Spider-Man web series, and he's just about to release a film. It's got a talking magpie that swears everyone. It's got Sam Neill. I think Sam Neill voices the magpie. It just looks wild.
Wow.
It looks really wild. I'm like, oh, okay. So that looks kind of cool. I don't know. Like, I feel like they're taking more risks now. I feel like to do, but there are certain filmmakers in the industry that I know that I'm not going to name them, but I feel like they miss out on funding for really good ideas, and they only get funding because whatever. I know for a fact there's one filmmaker who made a film a few years back. Only got the funding because he was second in line, and the first person that got picked, something didn't line up and it fell through, and he was the second in line, so they had to give him money.
Oh.
Yeah, and I hate hearing stories like that because it's like, well, he's good. He's good at what he does. Give it to him. But yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so it's tricky question.
Fair enough. Is there an Australian film or comic that gets way more praise than it deserves?
Oh man, I don't praise them.
Film or comic, but it's either one of those. So
Not really, man. I don't know. I don't think I can answer that question.
Yeah.
It's too hard for me.
If AI can replicate your craft in 10 years, did the craft actually mean anything, or does that question makes you angry?
Makes me angry. Makes me like angry Fred and the Angry Squad. Oh man, I don't know about AI. I feel like AI is like all smoke and mirrors at the moment. Maybe in 10 years it could. I don't see it. I don't see it. I'm one of these guys that if I could go out tomorrow and shoot on 35mm film and cut film like Christopher Nolan, I would, but it's too expensive. But I don't know. It makes me angry. I feel like there's a lot to be said for just getting out there, bare bones, working hard, and using your skills and being tangible with your creativity.
What's the note from a producer, editor, or publisher that you ignored, and were you right to?
Sorry. No, sorry.
I was gonna say, what's the note from a producer, editor, or publisher that you ignored, and were you right to?
And I've had a lot of feedback. There's been a lot, like especially like I'm a full-time editor now, so I get a lot of feedback, and some days like you can have 6 different stakeholders or people that have all their input on one edit, and it becomes just ridiculous, edit after other, and it just becomes like you don't know what the edit is anymore, and you start questioning your ability as a creative. I can't talk about any sort of specific example, but I do know that there has been countless examples. It's like, look, if I do this, it's going to be more money. If I do that, it's going to change the story. It's going to do this. So yeah, it's my answer to that because there's a lot of.
Fair enough. Name a sacred cow in the Australian creative industry that desperately needs to be put down.
A sacred cow. I don't know, man. I don't have an answer. No.
Have you ever been asked to change or remove something because it was too politically uncomfortable, or did you cave?
Yeah, there's been numerous examples of that. I might talk about them, but there was one project I worked on years ago. It was a music video, and it had a very. I'm not very political, but this thing that we were editing had a very political angle to it, and I think I pushed it a bit too far. Where it used certain historical images and videos, and for me, I thought, wow, this is groundbreaking. It's artistic. It's
bold, bold and brave.
It was bold and brave. And they came to me and they said, look, the demographic we're pushing for won't understand what you're going on about. We have to take this away.
What's the most dishonest thing the Australian film or comic industry tells itself to feel better?
There's dishonest thing. They need to be more. They need to shout it from the rooftops that they're amazing and beautiful, because the comic industry here, I feel like, is very warm and fuzzy. Like, I feel like the film industry here in Australia not everyone wants to help each other out, and it's very cliquey.
Hmm.
And through that, by nobody's fault, you can just get wires crossed, and it could come across that someone's trying to backstab you or trying to take your job. And it's very cutthroat, like any sort of industry like that is. But I feel like the comic book industry is very warm and fuzzy here. It's so welcoming. They need to shout out more that bring people in with open arms and celebrate the artists. There's so many talented artists in the country. Don't get enough credit at all.
What's the story you're most afraid to tell, and is the fear about the audience, the industry, or yourself?
There is one story I want to tell. It's been sitting with me since I've been 18 years old, and it's got nothing to do with the audience or the industry. It's just my own fear of not getting off my ass and actually making it. Yeah, there's this one thing I really want to tell, and I don't know why. It keeps coming. It keeps haunting me every year. It pops up at the same time. And it goes, "Hey, work on this," and I'm like, "Not now." But then it gives me more information about it. It's like a download. I'm like, "Where the fuck did that come from?" And I'm like, I keep writing it down. It's been sitting there for God knows how many years, almost 20 years. So, yeah.
Okay. Okay. You also mentioned we briefly stated that your newest project, Ned Kelly First Blood, the untold story of how Australia's greatest outlaw was forged in alien fire and reborn with steel. How did that idea come about?
So that there is sort of a prequel to a graphic novel that I got funded and published last year. So Ned Kelly and the Five Revolvers is an 80-page graphic novel that is a precursor to First Blood. So that came about. I have a love for bushrangers growing up as a kid. Loved hearing about bushranger mythology and lore. And 2 years ago, I got given an opportunity to uh, go to a funding application grant through Creative Australia's Match Lab program. I got flown down to Melbourne 2 days to do a workshop on fundraising. I pitched an idea, quintessentially Australian. It was about Ned Kelly, who's taken from a different timeline, thrown into a different universe, and he has to team up with other Australian bushrangers that came before him to save a small town. Yeah, I got funding for that, and I went and crowdfunded it. I crowdfunded it. Creative Australia matched every dollar, so I think I
Oh
raised
shit!
yeah, I raised seven grand, and they matched that dollar for dollar, which is really cool to make that book. And so through that wild idea, I got so much traction from it, and I've got such a following from it now. That's what Ned Kelly First Blood is about. That's my next book in the series. That's going to be the next thing that kicks that series off. So, but I'm selling those books like wildfire at the moment. Like Ned Kelly and the Five Revolvers. Like you go to angryfredcomics.com and you can find a copy there. But yeah, it's a really
Nice.
that's how that came about. It's just my love of bushrangers. I haven't seen anyone tell anything with Ned Kelly quite, or any bushranger folklore in sort of an entertaining and creative way. So that's what I wanted to do. Yeah, create something
So
uniquely
that's
Australian.
and that's coming out in next. That's coming out soon on Kickstarter.
Yeah, yeah. I'm trying to sort of get the pre-launch page for that one up. Close to 200 people. So at the moment, I think it's at 70 people are following it. I want to get that up to 200 before we launch. So I've got
Sure.
a good sort of backing for it. So yeah,
All right. All right.
yeah.
Anything else, Professor, or you're good at your end?
All good here.
Okay. Anyways, on that note, where can they find you,
Yeah, the
Lucas?
best place to go is now is angryfredcomics.com. You can find all my graphic novels and comic books that I've written, and you can learn a little bit about me and my dad and sort of my family's creative legacy as well. There's a bit of a write up on that. Yeah, best place to go is angryfredcomics.com.
Okay, well, we could also find you on all the other social medias as well.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook. Yeah, give me a follow on there. I'm definitely or subscribe to my email list over on my website. So yeah,
Awesome, awesome. And on that note, thank you, Lucas, for giving us this opportunity.
thank you guys for having me. Yeah,
Yeah, you're welcome, welcome. So that's all we have for this week. Stay happy, stay nerdy, and look after yourselves and stay hydrated. Check out our Spotify, our YouTube, our social media. We also do Twitch streams as well. And yeah, I think that's about it so far.